Our guest this week on Media Beat is legendary newsman Dan Rather, anchor and managing editor of Dan Rather Reports on HDNet. Rather joined the network in 2006 after more than 4 decades at CBS, where he anchored CBS Evening News from 1981 to 2005, a tenure that is unlikely to ever be matched. Welcome, Dan.
Good to see you again, Gail.
Should I call you Gunga Dan?
Listen, I've been called worse.
Did you ever think you would see the day when 2 out of 3 evening news anchors would be female?
You know, I can say that beginning in the mid-1980s, the thought crossed my mind that someday we would see 1, maybe 2 do it. I didn't predict it. I think it shows some progress in the thinking of the management and ownership of the networks. There's no reason why women can't do the job. And several have already demonstrated that they can do the job. Barbara Walters has been doing a version of it for a very long time. But, you know, time moves on. I think the bigger question when it comes to the networks and the network evening news is, will we continue to have early evening network newscast, and if so, for how long? I continue to think that it can be a very good business, but I can now foresee the time when 1 or more of the so-called big 3 networks says, you know, I don't think the early evening news is worth the gambit. We'll turn the time back to the affiliates in exchange for something else.
But many people have been saying that for 10 years.
That's true.
People have been
I've
saying
been saying it for 10 years.
Yeah, at least 10 years. That brings me to my next question. Is there such a thing as mainstream media anymore? What does that mean to you? You
know, I don't know what it means anymore. If there is such a thing, I don't know what it is. I'd love to have someone define it for me, but I don't know what it is. Look, things change, and we've had a great acceleration of change in television news and in journalism in general. And no one should be surprised by that change, and definitions change. One can make an argument that what's on the internet now is mainstream, as opposed to what's on the evening newscast.
But are you concerned at all that there is the absence of quality control when it comes to so much of the modern platforms? This so-called notion of citizen journalists, does that concern you in any way?
Well, it does concern me, but overall in the main, I think the development of what's called citizen journalism is good, including that on the internet. The difficulty with some of the things on the internet, and I emphasize only some of the things, is transparency and accountability about who's responsible for what's on. As you know, you can put something on the internet that's really terrible about your neighbor or about a friend or a competitor, and it's almost impossible to find out who the source is, and you can say anything about them. That part of it troubles me. But look, there's no question that we've moved into the internet age, and if it isn't already, what's on the internet is going to become the dominant source of news for most people. It's not going to completely replace television, radio, and print, but it's becoming the dominant source of news. Whether you like it or not, that's a fact. So naturally we have some concerns about, I've stated one of them, about accountability. But overall in the main, I think that it's a force for good. I think it'll continue to grow. I think we're no longer right on the first edge of it, but we're not very far into what the internet is to become.
You're 78 years of age. Your birthday is on Halloween, which must be every kid's dream.
Well, up until the time you're about 14.
Right. Then it's not cool anymore. How have you adjusted to the technological age? I know you were into computers a long time ago, but how about the other things? Do you tweet?
Well, until recently I didn't tweet. I tweeted on, if that's the proper verb, I tweeted from Afghanistan. I sent out tweets when I could.
Your choice or not?
It was my choice to do it, but I came to that reluctantly. Those who work with me on Dan Rather Reports on HDNet said to me some time ago, you should think about tweeting.
Well, what is their average age, though?
Well, their average age is probably 28, maybe.
Okay.
And I told them I'd rather be dragged behind a horse than spend time tweeting. But when it came time to go to Afghanistan, you know, I have a passion for reporting the Afghanistan story. I know you're going to say, Dan, you always say you have a passion for every story, and that's true. But it was suggested, look, you can tweet of substance. My complaint about tweeting as regards myself was, you know, I don't think people would be interested. You know, I'm leaving the house. I'm now entering Gail Schusterland or whatever. But they convinced me that I could tweet with some substance They put the tweets, eventually most if not all of them, on Facebook. We did attach some videos. And you know, I'm still not absolutely totally convinced it was worth the time, but when I got back, I was assured by those who got me to do it that it was well worth the time.
Coming up in part 2, the lawsuit.